Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar titled Why MDR is Essential for Modern Cyber Threats. Okay, I'm Manpreet from the marketing team. For those who are new to us, Foreign Zebra is a cybersecurity company that helps organizations protect their IT environment with a wide range of IT security services such as penetration testing, managed detection and response, security awareness training, and IT security training. Today, we are excited to have Ibrahim, our cybersecurity account manager, as a speaker. He has over 10 years of experience in client engagement and solution consulting, brings valuable insight into how organizations can stay ahead of modern cyber threats. Ibrahim also holds multiple industry certification, including Microsoft Certified Professionals, Certified Ethical Hacker, Kaspersky Certified Specialist, LL Logic Certified Solution Architects. If you have any question throughout the session, please feel free to drop in the chat. We'll address them during the Q&A session at the end. With that, let's get started. Ibrahim, I pass to you.
Okay, thanks a lot, Manpreet. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks again for joining us for today's session. So before we dive in, I just want to confirm everyone can see our slide. Is the screen visible? You can just put a comment there on the chat just to ensure everyone is able to see the slide. Okay, all right. Thanks again for your feedback. So just some housekeeping rules to share on today's arrangement for the webinar. Some of you might be wondering, how can I ask questions? So please, if you have any questions, like Manpreet mentioned earlier, feel free to drop it on the chat box, and we will have a Q&A session at the end of the presentation as well. And then some of you might also be thinking, is this session being recorded, or can you get a copy of the recording afterwards? Yes. So you can reach out to us basically via email to us or phone call or WhatsApp. We can actually share with you the recording if you need for this session. And we do have additional support at the end of the webinar as well. If, let's say, you are interested to know more about our services or product, or you would like some consultation, we do have that offer as well. We are happy to assist. So jumping in for today's agenda, these are the topics that we'll be covering. Excuse me. So first thing, we'll just do a quick overview about Condition Zebra so that you know who we are, and then we'll talk about the cybersecurity threat landscape in today's world. Then what is MDR and why is it critical for the modern cybersecurity? How MDR basically detects and responds to threats in real time, and then the common cybersecurity gaps that actually put business at risk, right? And the step 2, basically strengthening your cyber defense with MDR. And lastly, with the Q&A, and we do have an offer for free consultation and also a free MDR trial at the end of the webinar. So those of you that stay to the end, you will get access to how you can claim your free MDR free trial. So just to highlight about Condition Zebra, we are purely a cybersecurity company that has been in this industry now for about 18 years, with extensive experience in multiple industries, providing security assessment and penetration testing and also training courses. So today we have completed more than 1,000 security assessment projects, and we have trained more than 6,000 people on IT security as well. We are certified by CRES. In Malaysia, we are also licensed by NACSA. In Singapore, we are licensed by CSRO. And we are also ISO 27001 certified or ISMS certified. And we have also won this award for Cybersecurity Education and Training Provider of the Year. And lastly, we are also a HRD Corp approved training provider. So we do have HRDF claimable training courses. In terms of what we do, basically, we are having 4 verticals. So one is on the security assessment, and then digital forensic investigation, on managed security services, and lastly, on IT security training. So in a bit more detail on what we do, basically this is the list of the services that we offer and our training courses as well. So if you have any upcoming requirement for this, or you're interested to know more about this, you can reach out to us and we'll be happy to explain further and discuss. So what is the current cybersecurity threat landscape? I mean, now cybersecurity has become a very hot button topic. Everyone is talking about it, even at the top level of governments and also at the board level of organization. Why is this so? This is because hackers are everywhere, right? This is something that we cannot escape. The hackers are getting more and more, and they have no plan to stop, right? So according to certain statistics, right, actually globally, there's 64% of organizations have already been attacked or they have faced some kind of ransomware attacks. And out of that, right, 79% of them have actually paid the ransom to the attackers. So this is something very scary. You can imagine 64% have faced certain kind of attack or ransomware attack, and almost 80% are actually paying out. So this is one of the reasons why you see more and more attacks coming out, because every time you actually pay these funds or money to the organizations or to the hackers, right, they will actually go and do further research and they will come up with stronger attacks against you, right? So this is one of the reasons. And then another thing is ransomware as a service, because lately a lot of free ransomware tools or also paid ransomware tools are out there that you don't even need to have technical knowledge or technical skills to do a ransomware attack, right? I believe everyone is familiar with ransomware, where those kind of you receive an email or a file that actually looks to be genuine, and then when you click it, it will end up locking your system and they'll ask you for payment. So now it doesn't even require advanced skills to do that, because there's what we call ransomware as a service. So people can simply go and subscribe to this service, and then they can send you the ransomware and they can target you for money, right? So this is one of the reasons why you see the threat is becoming more and more. Of course, that the whole landscape also is always changing. So that's what we call the threats evading detection. So some of the threats are even so advanced that they can even detect, they can evade detection, right? So your firewall or certain detection tools that you have in place might not even able to detect them, because the threats are becoming so advanced. And then now there's also AI, right? Every day we are talking about AI, using AI in our daily lives, but this comes with the added advantage, added challenge, right? Because some of the attackers are actually able to use this AI to do very advanced kind of attacks on organizations. So this is also a very prominent issue in today's world. And of course, we cannot forget about work from home. So ever since COVID happened, a lot of organizations allow some sort of work from home or remote staff. So this also brings a lot of challenge, whereby those staff that are working remotely or work from home, right, they might not be as safe or secure as those that are organized, that are within the office environment, right? Depending on what kind of controls or what kind of technologies that you have in place to monitor and also secure these people. But when people are working remotely, or they go to maybe Starbucks, or they go to maybe certain locations to work, they actually exposing themselves to more and more risk and to the organization as well. And then there's also, of course, the shortfall in detection and response, right? Because a lot of organizations still rely on manual tasks or on a daily routine check-in to basically make sure that you're able to detect or respond to incidences, but you cannot manually do it yourself, because the thing is becoming more and more every day, right? So this is also one of the challenges in the cybersecurity right now. And lastly, the entire landscape itself is constantly changing. So as now people are adding more and more technologies, like we're bringing into like those smart devices. So talking about like your smart TVs, everything is now becoming smart powered, right? Like even smart light bulb, smart refrigerator, smart this, smart that. All these smart devices are actually more, because they're connected to the internet. So there are more attack surfaces for the hackers to actually hack or attack the organization. So all this also is creating more threats or more landscape issues within the industry as well, right? So just to share some statistics as well in terms of cybersecurity. So right now, there's actually a study out that mentioned about 53% of Malaysian organizations have been hit by more than 10 cybersecurity incidents, right? So it could be as small as a very small email phishing or fake email, or maybe ransomware, or even a voice phishing call, right? So I think almost everyone here has experienced some kind of issue related to this, whereby someone will actually call you to pretend to be a certain party, maybe calling from the bank or from the government or police or what. They're trying to get you to reveal certain information or take certain action, right? Or even you receive some email that looks like it's coming from someone that you know, but it's actually fake, maybe coming from your boss or something. So this is a prominent issue right now that is happening. And according to this study, about 53% of Malaysian organizations have experienced this about 10 times. Another thing is 72% of Malaysian organizations have experienced at least one cyber attack in the last 4 years. So at least one in the last 4 years, right? So this is also a very alarming figure. And then another thing that on a global level is they actually study that mentioned that the cost of data breach, right, in 2020 alone, globally was about $3.8 million. And then the time to identify and contain the breach was about 280 days. So what does this show? right? Of course, there's huge financial losses or implication, but another issue is even the time taken to detect or identify and contain the breach, 280 days. You can imagine close to a year that the hackers have actually hacked and they are sitting in the network or environment. Only then the organization will find out that something has happened, right? So by then, of course, it's too late. They have already done what they want to do. They have probably planned some backdoor or some dormant malware in your environment, right? So this is also a very alarming issue that is happening, right? And then looking at the cost of cybercrime, you can see the graph here that actually the trend is basically going up, right? So, and it's projected to continue going on by 2028. It's actually projected to get to $13 trillion annually. This is on a global level. So the cost is astronomical. And of course, whenever there's cost issue or finances, you can expect people to also invest further on that area. And now back to this AI issue as well. So because AI is making things a lot easier, but it's also making the hacker's life easier as well at the same time. So there's this case actually that report come out from Amazon, whereby they mentioned they're actually facing about 1 billion cyber attacks daily. 1 billion. You can imagine it's not 1 billion people attacking them because it's AI, so they can simulate so many attacks, right? So they're actually experiencing 1 billion cyber attacks daily. And Amazon is also using AI to fight against this kind of cyber attacks. So in a way, it's basically AI versus AI, right? So this is the challenge or the world that we are living in today as well. So just to visualize everything that we have said here, I just want to share you some kind of live threat map just to highlight the current incidences and the current threat map. Allow me to share this screen. Basically, there is this platform that was developed by Checkpoint that they can actually help us to see what is going on globally in terms of the cybersecurity threat on a live basis. So I'm sharing that screen now. I hope everyone can see that. Maybe I give it a few seconds to load so that everyone is able to view that. But this is a public website. It's actually managed by Checkpoint. So you can actually go to this URL. You can access the same thing as well. But this helps us to see the attacks that are going on globally, right? So you can see today there's already 3.5 million attacks, right? And then if let's say you want to further understand a bit more, so like the top targeted countries as well. So like Ethiopia, Nepal, Indonesia, Vietnam, Mongolia. So as of today, these are the top most attacked countries. But this changes on a daily basis, right? Depending on attacks. And you can see from this map, this is basically all cyber attacks going on. So you can see the concentration. There's a lot usually from US, and of course you can see like some from Russia, right? Middle East and all. So you can see all the attacks happening on a global scale. And then you can see the industries as well. So as of today, education industry and the government and telecommunications. These are the top 3 most affected industry in terms of cyber attacks as of today. So this changes daily, right? If you want to monitor this, you can click on log into this website and you can find out more information. And then what are the top malware types as well? So phishing, mobile, and also worms, right? So these are the top malwares that are actually trending as of today. And then the top attacks, you can see there, malware, phishing, and exploit as well. So on this side, you can also have some statistics as well in terms of the progression of cyber attacks. So as of March, then you can see how it's moving. So sometimes it dips, sometimes it goes up. So luckily, April seems to be going down, but towards the end of April, it's already starting to go up. So this is just for us to visualize in a real sense what is happening in the real world today, right? These are all here. They're all different cyber attacks, right, that are actually going on. Right. So we can see from here, definitely cyber threat is a very realistic issue, right? And it's global. It's not just limited to, let's say, Malaysia or limited to certain industry, because certain people might have this mindset that, oh, this only happens to certain financial related organization, right? Or they might think this is happening only to those very big companies. But in fact, in the real sense, it's happening to every industry and every country in the world. Right? So you have to take cybersecurity as a very serious issue. But then in terms of solution, right? So we have seen a lot of challenges, but how to solve this or what can we do, right? So as with everything when it comes to cybersecurity, of course, there's usually 3 issues involved. So the 3-layered approach, right? So we have the people, the process, and the technology, right? So the people, of course, these are your staff or your colleagues there, the resources or the staff within the organization. Then the processes will be those steps and processes that they need to follow on a day basis to basically mitigate the threat and also respond if there's any issue. And then lastly is the technology, right? So a lot of people usually focus on the technology side. They will forget about the people and process, right? So you can invest in a lot of technology, your firewall, antivirus, a lot of things. All these technologies is there, but it's also nothing when you don't have the people to manage it and the proper process to basically tackle the issues, right? So I will take it one by one. So first one, I will discuss on the technology, right? Or the platforms, right? So what kind of platforms or what kind of technology can you deploy to mitigate against this kind of cyber threats or cyber attacks, right? So the most basic level is basically the endpoint protection, or what we call your antivirus, right? The traditional antivirus. I believe most organizations today will have this in place. Even if you don't have, usually they will be like those Windows Defender, right? Is in place, right? But this is very basic. It only can help you to do two things, right? It can help you to prevent for cyber attacks, for malwares or basically on viruses, right? And it only protects endpoint. So how it works, how this antivirus works is by using what we call signatures, right? Like known signatures, whereby they will try to search within your PC or your desktop or your machine to see is there any signatures of this virus in your environment. So it's like search based, it's signature based, right? And it only protects your endpoint. So by endpoint, I mean like your laptops, desktops, and probably your servers, right? But then there's other advanced technologies like what we call EDR. So EDR stands for endpoint detection and response. So it's a bit more advanced with more capabilities. So it can help you to do detection and also response, but it's only protecting endpoint as well, right? So what is the difference? Of course, your EDR, your endpoint protection, your antivirus helps you to protect by searching the signatures, but then EDR has these advanced capabilities whereby it can detect in real time the threat that is happening. So if there's any suspicious activity, for example, let's say there is a user that is used to logging into the office environment, let's say from maybe 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., right? Every day, consistently. But then suddenly this day, this person log in at 2 a.m. at night, right? This is something very different, right? Suspicious activity. Then this EDR can actually detect that this is abnormal behavior, right? So it can actually analyze in real time. And if let's say there's a potential threat or something, it will highlight to you. And in some cases, it will also respond on your behalf, right? So it can help you to respond. But your antivirus normally will only search for antivirus, for viruses, right? Then if let's say flag it, it can maybe help you to quarantine or delete or something like that. But it cannot detect real life cyber attack or real life issues, right? So EDR has these advanced capabilities and it can also help you to respond as well. But then it's also only limited to endpoint. So there's more advanced capabilities, what we call XDR, right? The extended detection and response. So what does this do? This basically has the same capabilities or similar functionality with the EDR, but it extends the coverage. So it's not only focusing on endpoint, but it covers other things like your cloud environment, your emails, basically holistic coverage. It covers a lot more things. So it's extend the entire coverage within your organization, not only limited to endpoints. But the key thing to understand here is these are only technologies, right? These are only tools, right? You need skills to manage it, or you need human being to manage it. Because there's no point today you have all the technologies inside in the world, but it's not properly configured, or it's not even set up to do the job properly, right? So that's why you need skills to manage it. Or if they say your EDR flags an issue, but you don't have the necessary skill set to respond or take the necessary action, right? So that's why there's also other service out there, what we call MDR, right? So the MDR is basically the managed detection and response. So this is a service basically that actually provides all these capabilities, the detection, response, and also extends coverage to the cloud for the network endpoints. But on top of that, it adds on the team to manage it, all this, so that you don't have to manage it yourself. It provides a 24 hours, 7 days a week team that is on call every day to manage and monitor all these tools and configure and set it up properly, right? So that also includes the processes as well, right? Because these people are skilled people. So when it comes to the people, of course, we have to talk about SOCs, right? But not this kind of SOCs. When it comes to SOCs, we are talking about this kind of SOC. This is the people, the Security Operations Center. So the SOC, of course, brings together the people that are skilled and also the processes in there, because these are also, the SOC is developed with a particular process built in there that all these people have to follow, right? So what does a SOC do, or a Security Operations Center? This is basically a team of people that is helping you to monitor your environment 24 hours, 7 days a week, depending on what kind of SOC that you have. Maybe some SOCs might actually work only half day, like for example, 9 to 5, right? Or some might work maybe night shift, right? Or some is 24 hours, 7 days a week. But their main function is basically all this. So one is preventive and also proactive monitoring. So they are constantly monitoring these tools, constantly monitoring your network, constantly monitoring everything to make sure there is any threat, they will respond immediately. And of course, they will be doing security intelligence. So basically constantly investigating, seeing what are the latest threats out there, keeping up to date, right? And also doing recovery and remediation. If touch wood, any incident happen that there needs to be a recovery, they will have to do the recovery and also remediate to take necessary steps, right? And also security posture refinement. So constantly refining your posture by doing things like security assessment, baseline testing, penetration testing, and various kind of things to make sure that your environment is protected. And then, of course, you have the alert management. So all these tools, like just now I mentioned, that those EDR, XDR, they are all tools. They are constantly sending alerts, right? Constantly giving notifications. So if, let's say, your traditional IT team today, you keep on receiving all this notification, all these alerts, you might have what we call alert fatigue. Too many notifications, right? You get tired, right? So the SOC team actually, in this case, this is what they specialize on. There's a dedicated team of people there to monitor all this alert and also categorize properly. So they do alert management, and they will also respond to incidents. They will manage all the logs, and they will help you to meet compliances, right? So this is what we call Security Operations Center. This is one of the solutions that can also help to prevent against cyber threats, right? So what does a typical SOC team looks like? You will have about a team of 7 people. So of course you have your incident responder, your threat researcher, security analyst, your security investigator, security engineer, security architect, and the SOC manager. But there are different levels of SOC or SOC, right? So tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, depending on the level, then it will depend on the kind of people that will be there. But the most basic level is, of course, the analyst, whereby they are the ones monitoring the logs and constantly doing investigations. If there's any suspicious activity, they will raise it up to the next level, which is a tier 2. They will investigate further, do remediation, and also responses if needed. And then there's also the tier 3, whereby they are actively looking for potential threats. They're doing threat intelligence, researching on a threat, actively looking within the organization to see what are the potential threats, and they're constantly trying to mitigate on those threats as well. And this team needs to work 24 hours, 7 days a week. All right. So this is basically the composition of a SOC team. But then you might be thinking, okay, if this is the case, everyone will want to have a SOC, right? Everyone wants to have this technology, they want to have these processes, and they will want to have their own SOC team to protect against cyber threats. But what are the challenges? So today, if you decide to build your own SOC, the first thing you will encounter is the cost. Very huge investment, right? So this is just a quick calculation of how much estimated cost will be involved to set up a SOC for an organization, right? So as I mentioned, you have different tiers of analysts. So you will have maybe minimum 5 analysts, tier 1, and then tier 2, you'll have 3, and then you also have the tier 3 threat hunters, well, at least 2 of them. You will have malware engineers and also forensic specialists and also a SOC manager to manage all of them, right? So cost-wise, this is basically yearly salaries in US dollars, how much you expected to spend, because this team needs to work 24 hours, 7 days a week. So they have to work in shifts, right? So the reason why you need at least 5 people, because they have to work in shifts, right? They have to rotate. So at the end of the day, salary alone, you're looking at spending how much basically on salary cost, right? About 400K US dollars annually on just the threat analyst or the security analyst, right? And the SOC manager and all this. And you also have to train these people. So skill development is there, right? It will involve easily 65,000 US dollars per year. This is for the whole 13 people. But not only that, you also need the technology, as I mentioned earlier, right? You need the SIEM, the EDR, all these technologies in place that the team will use to monitor the environment, right? So for example, a SIEM, which stands for security, basically incident and event monitoring. This helps to do, this is a tool for basically the SOC team to do monitoring, right? On the logs and all the analysis. The EDR, as we mentioned earlier, basically that will do the monitoring as well on the endpoints and also the servers as well. To host these things, you need servers. You also need like forensic software to do forensic investigation. If touch wood any incident happen, you will need laptops as well for 13 people, right? Each staff has to have their own laptop. You will need, of course, office space. Let's say you want to build this within your office. You probably can skip this cost. You can save $20,000, but you will need storage and backup. You also need threat intel feeds, basically the news feed to feed you or to feed the team the latest threat intelligence. And then you will need security assessment tools like VAPT tools, which will cost you also about $12,000 annually. So as a whole, you're looking at about $240,000 just on tools and hardware cost. And then you have another additional 1.3 million on staffing cost. On top of all this, you have to also keep in mind that hiring security people is also not easy because fortunately or unfortunately, security is a very hot button topic today. A lot of the security people also are having a lot of opportunities out there, right? So it's not easy to hire them and keep them, right? They will constantly be going in and out. You will have staff turnover, probably HR issues or personnel problems, you know, MCs on leave. All these issues you have to keep in mind as well. All the challenges that will involve in setting up your own SOC team. But you also need this team to run 24 hours, 7 days a week. Right? So these are the kind of challenges that will be faced, right? So after seeing all these issues, and also, of course, we still have a solution for it, right? So as we say in this world, right, there's nothing that doesn't have there's no problem that doesn't have a solution, right? So one of the solution is MDR. So what is this MDR? MDR basically brings together these components for you in one package. So it's the manage, detection, and also response. Right? So it brings together the team, the processes, and also the technology in one platform that you can subscribe. You don't need to have the headache of setting up your own team. You don't need to have the headache of buying the tools, setting up the tools, and creating the processes and drafting all these policies and procedures, right? So first part of it is manage, right? So this is basically the 24 hours, 7 days a week, continuous monitoring, threat intelligence, and also response. Of course, you have the detection, which is basically going to be done by the tools or technologies. So like the account takeovers, any DDoS, anomalous prevention, any zero-day attacks, all this malware, ransomware, all this can be detected. And of course, the response capabilities, basically automated threat hunting, incident investigation, guided and remote response, and also health check and constant like vulnerability scanning and all that, or the responses as well, right? Or remediation. Right? So this brings together 3 of them in one roof or in one solution, which we call MDR. Right? So what are the components of MDR, right? So this MDR, or managed detection and response, basically it provides you different coverage. So of course you have the technology optimization, the endpoint protection, the threat detection, right, and hunting, incident management, all these components on the one platform or on the one solution, right? So actually there's research by Gartner that according to Gartner by 2025, right, 50% of organizations will be using MDR service for threat hunting, detection, and response functions that offer threat containment capabilities. So this was, I believe, about 2 years ago. Now we're in 2025. The reason why I still put this in here is to highlight to you that now we're already in 2025 and globally, organizations are already starting to move towards this trend, right? And even for us within this players with this industry, we are beginning to see more and more demand coming in because organizations have seen that this is the way to go, right? You don't have to go and invest so much on setting up your own team, managing the team, setting up technology and all that. You can basically subscribe to the service for a fraction of that cost, right? So the coverages, of course, what can be covered? We can touch base on like your cloud environment, your email security, network protection, desktops, any risk or compliances. Like for example, you need to comply to GDPR, PCI DSS, RMIT, all those compliances. The MDR can help you to comply because you will have a SOC team, you will have a lot of the vulnerability scanning, host assessment, baseline hardening, all this will be covered under the MDR. Of course, your data also will be protected, the servers will be protected, and also even mobile devices as well. Right? So this is one single point of solution. And as I mentioned at the beginning, AI is also a very hot button topic now that is constantly even making the hackers' life easier by giving them more ways to attack us, right? But MDR also incorporates AI, right? Or machine learning, right? So that we can also help to fight against cyber threat. So it will help us to do faster detection. It will help us to do prioritization of the alerts, right? It will also provide expert support, and also it helps us to resolve some of the threats 30 to 40% even faster compared to working without AI, right? And also it helps us to do automatic resolution of alerts, because in some cases we can already pre-program the AI to help us to respond in certain situation, or the AI can actually think and analyze and see that in this particular situation, this is what we need to do to remediate immediately without even having human to intervene. So the other item I wanted to share is, as Condition Zebra, we do have our own MDR offering or MDR package. So just to highlight to you how this will actually help you in terms of staying ahead of cyber threats, right? So first thing, in the beginning, I mentioned there's 3 areas. We need the people, the process, and the technology, right? So first thing is we will provide you technology or the platform as part of the MDR that we're offering. So this technology is also built on Gartner's leading technologies as well, right? So it will provide you the multi-vector detection, so AI and machine learning that I mentioned just now. So also provide you traffic analysis, CIS baseline security assessment. So we can help you to scan all those tools, all those servers and endpoints, right? Constantly checking for baseline hardening, comparing your configuration to the best practices on CIS, vulnerability scanning, and of course the 24 hours monitoring and the live dashboard for you to basically see what our team is doing, right? To monitor or to basically meet your compliance reporting. So all this under one platform, and the platform or technology also provide all these capabilities. So like log collection, log analysis, correlation, compliances, of course, the baseline scanning, right? Real-time detection, the dashboard for monitoring or reporting, then UWeber as well, right? Is being provided, or basically this is the platform, the capability I mentioned earlier that helps you to detect any suspicious activity or anomalous user behavior as well. File integrity monitoring and host-based vulnerability assessment. So this can monitor your servers, workstation, firewalls, router core switches, and the cloud. So it's a holistic coverage. So we will provide you the process. Of course, since we have the SOC team, they will need to follow this process that has already been implemented. First thing is the incident triaging, investigation, and then the guided response. So let's say today, touch wood, there's any incident, of course, there will be this triage, right? Where basically three different points of investigation. Basically do a triaging, and then they forward it to the next stage to investigate further, and then the response, right? So in certain cases, we are able to take action on your behalf, but in other cases, basically we will need maybe certain privileges that only the IT team will have, or the admin. So we'll actually call that person in charge and highlight to them, for example, that you are facing this kind of cyber attack, and this is how you can respond, or this is what you need to do to solve this issue, right? So this is how the structure or composition of our SOC team looks like. So we have the very basic level, which is basically the alert analysts, right? These are the people that actually constantly monitoring the logs and the alerts and fishing for any suspicious activity. If they see something suspicious, right, they will immediately raise it to the tier 2, which is the threat hunters, all right? And also you have basically your SOC manager to oversee all of them, right? And then we also have a GRC and a compliance team as well, or basically the IT security team as well. This basically has the GRC analysts, the lead auditors, and we have network engineers, red teamers, endpoint engineers, and cloud engineers as well, basically to help with integrations and making sure everything runs smoothly. And we also have the virtual CISO or the vCISO, which oversees the team. But bringing them together, we have the incident responders, right? So in case of any incidences, the incident responders can collaborate within these two teams and immediately take the necessary resolution or necessary actions. So in a way, you have a whole team of people backing you and helping you to solve your security challenges. And one thing to highlight is we are not asking you to change anything in your current setup or current integration, right, or your current environment. This MDR can directly integrate with what you have in place right now, right? So I believe these are some of the most common technologies or products out there. This can actually directly integrate to, for example, you're using checkpoint firewall or sonic wall or FortiGate. It can actually integrate directly to your current setup. Or maybe you have your own EPP, like you have maybe ESET or McAfee, which is now like those CrowdStrike or whatever you have, we can actually integrate with all this to get all the logs and all the information that we need to do further analysis and monitoring. And then if case of remediation is required, we will also take the necessary action. So this helps you to quickly show result, right? If let's say you need security solution immediately, it's very fast, very plug and play, right? Within, let's say 1 or 2 weeks, we can quickly integrate with your current environment and start to monitor. Versus in a situation whereby you decided to build your own team or set up your own SOC, it will take you months or even cases, maybe some years to set it up, right? But we can be very fast and integrate immediately, almost immediately, right? So another thing just I wanted to share before as I wrap up the session is how our offering actually compares with other security solutions out there. Because you might be thinking in your mind, okay, I am looking for these capabilities. This is typically what most organizations will look at when it comes to cybersecurity, right? So you need some training, you need security audits, you need dark web monitoring, pen tests, vulnerability management, incident response, and all this, right? So there are certain solutions out there. So for example, like SIEM as a service, right? But it only covers these 3 areas, right? You get 24 SOC monitoring, you also get threat hunting and security monitoring by the SIEM. You can go for just the MDR, which covers incident response, right? Monitoring, threat hunting. You can also go for SOC as a service, which extends the capabilities as well to provide security monitoring. Then you can go for compliance as a service that gives you vulnerability management and also compliance management, right? But in a situation whereby, let's say you decide to go with Condition Zebra, we are actually providing you a one-stop solution. We cover all of this under one single platform, right? And then, of course, we extend your team, right, by becoming your cybersecurity team. So let's say there's going to be monthly security reviews, security posture assessment, and all that. So our security team or our SOC team basically becomes your cybersecurity team, right? So we're happy to supercharge your products, your existing products, to basically take full advantage of what you have in place. Because today you might have a lot of technology you already installed, all these things, but you might not be taking full advantage, right? Because your IT team or your team is probably busy with other your routine job that you need to fulfill. But we can help you to step in and make sure that all these technologies are properly or fully being utilized. Of course, the 24/7 management and the compliance management as well. So compliance management comes in today. Let's say you need certain audit come in, right? You need certain advice or consultation, or you have a new project coming up. You need consultation and advice on security side. You can pull in one of our team members to come in there to advise you as one of your team members as well, right? So as I wrap up my session, I'll just leave you with this quote, basically that says security systems have to win every time, but the attacker has to only win once. Right, so that brings us to the end of the presentation for today. But as promised at the beginning, we do have a free offering for those that stay till the end of the webinar. So we are right now offering a free trial for our MDR services. So what we have just discussed now, the offering that we have, if you're interested, you can actually scan this QR code. It will take you to the page that you can get access, you can sign up for our free trial, and we contact you to arrange further on this. So I'll just leave to the session now, to the floor for any questions, and then we can respond accordingly. Meanwhile, I'll be sharing the QRs here, so you can feel free to scan and send in your request as well. So please feel free to drop your questions in the chat box, and then we can address them accordingly if you have any questions. Okay, we have our first question from Rick. So Rick is asking, how do we integrate with customer environment? Okay, great question. So our integration depends on what you have or what kind of setup that you have, right? So if it's listed among these that I shared earlier in my slide, let me go back here. Let me just do a quick backtrack to this slide. Okay, if your environment, I believe you might be using most likely one of these products, right? So this, we already have plugins, and also we have agents that are pre-ready for this environment. We can directly, if let's say a laptop, we can install our agent on your laptop or desktop or servers. If let's say is maybe firewall, we can also integrate from there. If it's not within this list, right, we can customize certain APIs. We will need like about 2 to 3 weeks. We have a team of developers that can work on that. Within 2 to 3 weeks, we can customize certain APIs that can interface with those products that you have if they are not within this list. But if they are within this list, then it's already automatic. We already have the plugins and the agents that can directly integrate. Okay, Rick, I hope that answers the question. If you need further explanation or advice on this, you can reach out to us as well. Then we can discuss further as well, or you can drop in the comment or the chat box as well. We have another question from Liana. So what is the difference between MDR and NDR, right? Okay, another good question. So as I mentioned earlier, these are basically technologies that can be used. So MDR is managed detection and response. It is a service, right? It's purely a service that integrates all of this monitoring of all of these technologies, right? But NDR is basically network detection and response. So it's limited to only the network. So similar to the way we have EDR is limited to only the endpoint, NDR limited to only the network, right? But MDR is a service that goes on top of these products. So the service monitors all these technologies or products that you have. Okay, I hope that answers the question as well. We have another question from Amalina. So Amalina is asking how XDR is different from MDR, right? So again, this is, maybe I go back to this slide. This basically ties back to the technology versus the service, right? Okay, this slide, I hope we can all see that, right? Okay, I'll just give it time to load. Hopefully everyone can see that. Okay, so referring back to this slide, XDR is here. So XDR is extended detection and response. It basically is also a tool, right, or a product that can be, it has an agent that will be installed on your endpoint or servers or laptops or desktops or even the network. It's just an agent or a tool that will help you to monitor all of this. It provides you the capabilities to do detection and response. It actually extends the coverage by covering also your cloud, your network, and endpoint, right? So versus, let's say your EDR only covers your endpoints. It has the same capabilities, but it's only covering endpoint. But XDR is extending to cover other things. It's covering network, covering cloud, covering email, covering a lot more things, not just endpoint. So basically that's the difference between them. But these are all technologies or security products, right? Then MDR itself is the service. So it's on this part of the equation, right? It's basically the service, right? Whereby you subscribe to this service, you have a team of people like Condition Zebra that will actually monitor all these technologies or all these tools for you, right? And at the same time, MDR products or MDR service will also come with their own products. If let's say in a situation whereby you don't have EDR, you don't have XDR, you can directly subscribe to this MDR, right? Let's say you subscribe to this, you get the full package. You will get the detection response, we provide the agent, do everything, basically the team, also the SOC team, everything is in one package. But if let's say you go for only XDR, right, there's no team of people behind it. We don't manage it, right? We only provide you the product or the tools. So we install the tools or the product for you, we set it up for you, and then you site will have to monitor it, make sure that, let's say you receive any alert, you have to respond, right? Or you have to look at it and then do the analysis further as well, which is still good, right? But it just depends whether you have that time and the resources to manage it yourself, right? So for those organizations that they don't have the time or the resources or the bandwidth to actually take on all of this task for monitoring, then they can outsource to organizations like us, whereby we do the MDR or the managed detection. So we manage it for them basically, right? I hope that clarifies as well. Okay, thanks, Amalina. So is there any other question? Okay, we have another question from Rick. So he's asking, do you do analysis by remoting login to customer console, or you pull them to your console, which should be a SIEM-like single console to monitor a log tenant? Okay, if I understand your question, you're asking from our own perspective as, let's say, as an MDR provider or as Condition Zebra, right? We have multiple tenants or we have multiple clients that we are managing, right? Right. So each client will basically have access to their own portal, their own login for them to view, right? And they can only view things that are related to them. So you can have reporting that is actually reporting on what is affecting your organization. So that is how customer will view from our perspective, and it doesn't affect other customers as well. But then if how we are going to log into your console to pull, okay, let me just, for you to pull them in your console, which should be a SIEM-like single console to monitor a log. Oh, to pull the logs. Okay. All right. So pulling of logs is also back to the agent. So let's say today, if you don't have any SIEM, you don't have any EDR or anything, we will come in there to install our agent. So that agent actually has the capabilities to pull the logs and everything, right? Or that's what we call a sensor. So that sensor helps us to pull the logs and all the information that we need if you don't have it in your place. But if let's say you already have like your SIEM, right? Our platform can actually integrate. There's a certain API that can integrate to your SIEM platform for us to get the logs directly, right? If I believe your SIEM, maybe you're using those well-known ones, like for example, let's say you're using Splunk or using Elastic, yeah, then we can directly integrate using API to get all the logs from your SIEM if you have one. Or if you already have your EDR or MDR or your XDR platform, we can also connect by, for example, APIs or agents to pull the logs and the necessary information for us to do further analysis as well. But we don't really log in directly to your console every time, right? So once we set it up, it's all automated. The logs and all the information will be pulled directly once it's set up one time. Rick, I hope that answers the question. We have one more from Hariza. So product principal also provide their own MDR, for example, Sophos MDR, CrowdStrike. So what is the difference between you and principal MDR? Okay, great question as well. So you're very right. A lot of the EDR providers or the principals like Sophos, CrowdStrike, right? They have their own MDR capabilities or MDR services, right? But the difference is cost, right? Let's say you want to buy MDR service from CrowdStrike versus you want to buy from Condition Zebra. I can tell you for sure we are cheaper, right? And it's not because the quality is lower or poorer, but it's because our investment cost or our team or our expenses is basically much lower compared to their expenses, right? So let's say you get a SOC or MDR from CrowdStrike, you're talking about a team probably from US that is being paid in US dollars, right? So price-wise, it's definitely much higher compared to us, right? And then from our perspective here, let's say looking at Malaysian market, the SOC team is based here in Malaysia, right? We are based here in Petaling Jaya, right? So if there is any unit required response, like physical response or on-site response, we have a physical team that is on site to visit your office, right? So this is also one of the difference or one of the advantages from our own MDR. But you're right, they do have their own MDRs as well, but usually will be more expensive, and most times the team is not based locally in Malaysia as well. So I hope that answers that question as well. Okay, we have another question from WJ Wong. Okay, Mr. Wong is asking MDR price count by device. Okay, so MDR price, it counts by the scope, not just the device alone, right? It depends on, first thing, of course, the number of assets that you want to monitor. So whether we're talking laptops, desktops, and then cloud environment, and then how complicated is it as well, right? So if you have certain requirement for certain capabilities as well. So for example, some customers, they will require log retention for maybe more than 1 year, they need 2 years, 3 years. All this will affect the price, right? But all the information will come together to affect the price. There's no like fixed price, right? Every package will have to be customized based on your requirement. So if let's say you need a quotation for that, you can reach out to us after this webinar, then we can arrange a session to basically do a scoping and also quotation for you. Okay, so just now Hariza was asking, how about the capability MTTR on par with product principle? Okay. So one thing you have to understand about MDR, right? It's pretty much a customized solution, right? Every vendor or every provider out there, they will have customized product or customized packages, right? They will have certain capabilities inside, and some they will not have that capabilities. So it very much depends on your requirement, what you want. So I cannot tell you, for example, you cannot compare Condition Zebra versus, let's say, CrowdStrike MDR or Sophos MDR, for example, right? Each of them will have different offering in terms of what capabilities is built inside, right? So for example, let's say even among the principles, if you compare them, right, it's not always the same. For example, some will have certain capabilities, some don't have certain capabilities. Some they will have, like example, the response time will be different. Some they will be lower, some they will be more, right? So if let's say you really want to compare this, right, it would very much depend on your requirement actually. But of course, if you go for the MDR, just to answer your question about Condition Zebra, whether we can say we are on par, we are not going to say we are 100% on par with them. But if let's say meeting the requirement for Malaysian market so far is, can say very, very, very comfortable, you know, meeting, I mean, we are very comfortable to compete against them within Malaysian context. Okay, we have another comment from Mohammed Hafiz. Okay, Ibrahim, I'm looking forward to threat intelligence project next round. But how is this different from compromise assessment or breach attacks project? Okay, thanks again for that question, Mr. Hafiz. So you're looking at threat intelligence project, all right? And then you also want to know how is it different compared to compromise assessment, right? So compromise assessment, just for the benefit of everyone on this session, compromise assessment is basically a type of assessment that we help you to investigate whether is there any indicators of compromise within your organization. Basically, we're trying to understand, have you been hacked before? Or is there any dormant malware sitting within your environment? Or is there any suspicious activity that is happening within your environment, right? It's a one-time service. It's not like MDR or EDR that is constant monitoring. So let's say you go for MDR or EDR, it's constant monitoring, 24 hours. We're monitoring on a live basis. But compromise assessment is a one-time whereby we go in there, for example, we go all your endpoint, all your laptops, your network, everything, we will get a copy of the logs. We will investigate, we analyze to see, is there any suspicious activity? For example, let's say your traffic, right? Do we look at the servers? Is there any server that is transmitting an unusually amount of data, right? Let's say your usual traffic load is maybe 1 gig, right? But then suddenly we see, hey, this server is transmitting 10 gig, right? Or very high traffic. Then we have to investigate further, right? Is it is it a authorized activity or not, right? Or maybe looking at for example, at the endpoint or the workstation level, we will also try to see, for example, is there any certain dormant malware that is sitting there that has been in that environment for a while that you don't even know about, right? So these are the kind of things that we will check when it comes to compromise assessment. But when it comes to threat intelligence is completely different from compromise assessment, because threat intelligence is basically feeding you live or latest threat that is happening in the cybersecurity world, right? And then we'll give you some context at how does this threat relate to your organization. So I give you one example. In the past, we have ransomware, right? Before 2017, 2016, we never heard of ransomware, right? But if let's say you have threat intelligence, they will be feeding you information that, hey, there's this new threat coming out that is called threat intelligence, and how will this threat affect your organization? So they'll give you some context. They will, tailor the information down to your specific environment. So they are completely different things, actually. I hope that answers the question as well. So we have another question from Muhammad Irfan. He's asking, okay, hello and good evening. Evening, Mr. Irfan. Can you suggest other platform for checking threat map? Okay, sure. So I think this, just for the benefit for everyone that is in that session with us, the threat map he's asking about is the one I shared at the beginning of the webinar, right? Whereby we share this platform that is developed by Checkpoint, right? That is, they are showing the latest threat map. There are other platforms out there. There's one by Kaspersky. You can just Google it. You can just Google Kaspersky Cyber Threat Map. It will show up. So there's a lot of them out there that they actually visualize on a real-time basis the latest cybersecurity threats. So not only Checkpoint, there's Kaspersky, there's a lot of them out there. You just search on Google, you can find them as well. Okay, so we have another question from Rick. So he's asking, how does compromise assessment different with MDR's threat hunting? Okay, so it's, I think, similar question we just now Hafiz is asking is, how is it different, compromise assessment with also MDR threat hunting? So MDR threat hunting is like basically giving you live threats, all right, constant threat monitoring or constant threat investigation for your organization, right? So let's say you subscribe for the MDR, let's say 1 year, 2 year, or 3 years. So for that duration of the service, there are people constantly checking for potential threats within your organization, or potential threats that can harm your organization, right? But compromise assessment is one time. You do compromise assessment, let's say in let's say April to July. Once after July, the report is out, it's one time, right? So there is no constant monitoring. There's no going to be further checking on that. We can also help you to do remediation, but once you remediate and we do the retest, that's it, right? We have closed that project. But MDR threat hunting is constant. It's for the duration of the entire subscription. So there are people constantly hunting for threats within the organization. So I will put it in a simpler way. One of them is a one-time service. The other one is basically an ongoing service. And also, just to highlight one more thing, is compromise assessment will be very in-depth, a lot more in-depth, right, compared to the MDR threat hunting, because compromise assessment is, we will dedicate a specific time and also a specific team of resources to really go investigate deep into your environment, right? We try to see what are the potential or what are the potential IOCs or indicators of compromise, right? And then we will analyze from there, and then we'll also highlight to you, okay, we'll call you maybe, for example, settings, hey, we have this suspicious activity. Is this authorized? We'll sit down with you, do consultation. So it's like a bit different compared to threat hunting, whereby threat hunting is going on behind the scene without your knowledge, and then they will just constantly monitoring and doing the threat hunting, basically. I hope that answers that question as well. So far, we're getting very interesting questions. Any further questions? Okay. If no further question, I think we can proceed to end the session. So I'll just give it one more round. Any further questions? I mean, in case also maybe you're not comfortable to share a question here in the chat, don't worry. You can just reach out to us via call or WhatsApp or email. You can contact us, and then we can actually arrange a session to discuss privately on these issues. We can consult and give you further recommendation. Okay, so I think if no further question, we can proceed to end this session. So we'd like to thank you again for joining us. I will go back to the slide to share again this link for the MDR free trial. So for anyone that is interested, please feel free to scan the QR. You sign up for this free trial so that you can go for this MDR. Okay, so I'm sharing that again on the screen. So if no further question, we'll proceed to end this session. Thank you again for joining us and also wishing you a very good weekend as well. Thank you.
Can we get a slide for the
Oh, okay. Irfan is asking about the slide. Okay, Irfan, we will reach out to you on this as well. We'll contact you for this for the slide. Thanks, everyone.
recording?